smile on your face. I live on the sea. It's enough for me, baby. It's enough for me. Oh, heavenly day, heavenly day, heavenly day. Tomorrow may rain with sorrow. Here's a little time we can borrow. Get all our troubles in these moments so few. Oh, we could right now the only thing that all that we really have to do is have ourselves a heavenly day. Lay here and watch the trees sway. Oh, can't see no other way. No way, no way. Heavenly day, heavenly day, heavenly day. No one at my shoulder bringing me fears. Got no clouds up above me bringing me tears. Got nothing to tell you, I got nothing much to say. Only I'm glad to be here with you on this heavenly, 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 heavenly day. Oh, all the trouble gone away. Oh, while anyway, for a while anyway. Heavenly day, heavenly day, heavenly day, heavenly day, heavenly day. Oh, oh, heavenly day.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the Livestream Happy Hour. My name's Eric Brayman. I am your host with the most, and I am so excited to be here with one of the most amazing creators in our community right now, Scott Frazier-Maskiell. Scott, welcome.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you so much. Thanks for doing this and just being such a great supporter of the arts.
Oh my gosh, thank you. And we're going to get to hear all the amazing ways that you've also been inspiring the arts here locally, especially in our young people. So thank you all for tuning in to hear about the amazing stuff that Scott and Pegasus Playhouse have been doing. We're very excited to chat about it. I'm going to go ahead and go through my opening spiel, and then we'll jump right on into it with Scott. So the Livestream Happy Hour started over a year ago when the pandemic first broke out as a way for us to continue connecting artists with our arts community. It's continued and thrived, and we've been able to go and talk with visual, performing, food, and so much more artists. And we're continuing to roll this program out, and we'd love to hear what artists you have in mind and would like to see on the show. So message us at lanearts@lanearts.org or comment some names right here in the chat and let us know who you'd like to see on here. We'll reach out to those artists, or if you are an artist, we'd love to chat with you as well, and get them right here on the Happy Hour to get connected with our amazing Lena Arts community that we get to be connected with through social media. Also, this is an opportunity to remind you of the importance of investing in the arts. It's been a tough year for so many of us, and it takes all of us coming together to make sure that we are continuing to feed, support, and help the arts thrive as we continue to come back together. And the arts are going to be one of those things that really help us come back together, start to build that community that we've been missing this last year. So if you're excited to get back into those spaces to dance, to listen to music, to watch theater, to witness art and see people making art, invest in an arts organization or civil rights organization today. We also know that people who donate to one organization often donate to multiple organizations. So please do, after you make that first donation, go off and donate to another arts or civil rights organization. Lane Arts might be one of those places, but there's plenty of other organizations that also need your support. So please go and give where you feel inspired to give. Awesome. I'm off my soapbox. It's time to focus right here with you, Scott.
Right
So,
on.
Scott, to introduce us a little bit to who you are as an artist and the way and some of the work that you do, tell us about your artistic background and how you landed eventually into teaching artistry.
Wow. Well, I feel like I was born a theater kid somehow. I brought tap shoes into my kindergarten class to try to replicate Jimmy Cagney's dance and Yankee Doodle Dandy, and I couldn't even dance. I just wanted to do it. It's just something I always wanted to do. And that force permeated pretty much everything in my childhood. I would literally cut school and go to the library and read books about Broadway shows. Like, that was my rebellion, was to really get into all these different things. I fell in love with Singing in the Rain, was my favorite movie, and I just wanted to be part of that magic, I think. And so as soon as I could, I started auditioning for shows when I was younger, and just kept going and going and going with community theater. And luckily, growing up on Long Island, we think about New York City as a mecca, and it is. It's Broadway. It's amazing. But Long Island was huge, so many people. And there were about 7 major community theater companies at a certain level. And we all would mutually support and go see each other. But there were so many teachers and so many places to learn, as far as everything from the technical aspect to being a choreographer, to how do you really relate with somebody, to improvisation, to real children's theater, where it's like that Bugs Bunny essence of there's something funny for the parents, but there is a heart involved. And I think, oh my gosh, I could cry a little bit. Something about that permeated my intent as an artist, as a theater artist. I fell in love with children's theater. And then I was working at a place on Long Island, which is still running, Plaza Playhouse, run by Kevin Harrington, an amazing teacher and producer, who actually this week has opened up the first equity house on Long Island.
Wow, amazing.
Yes, and continues to run camps and things like that for kids and everything. I worked for him, and it was a very low-paying job, I will say. But I was technical director. I was in the shows. I ran the children's theater department for a while. So I learned how to do so many things. And the director of the children's theater program had dropped out. And I said, well, I'll give that a shot. And pretty soon I was running a program with 89 students a week, teaching 5 classes. And it was like a fish swimming. I just loved it so much. I was so inspired by them, the kids. And I didn't know that. I fell into it. I had no idea. So that's kind of where it began for me. It really did. I started to work for a place called Usedance Center for the Performing Arts, which was on Long Island as well. And where kids could go take a major for the summer. And anything from ballet to, we had 6 different theater levels. It was a huge camp of different kids. And that was where I first started to really write for the kids. I found that being able to encompass 30 kids into a show just by doing a review or something like that, I feel like they deserve better.
Yeah.
And also the idea of them being able to play their ages, their strength. You'll see a lot of 16-year-old Willie Lomans and Adelaides and Guys and Dolls, but are they getting in touch with, how do I express me in this moment? How do I find a connection to this character that expresses how I feel? So that was the first time I really got in touch with writing for kids. And about half the show was review and half the show was written for them. And I'm still friends with some of those kids today. There's in that camp who they have their own kids, and like they'll quote back stuff from the show already. So to make a long story slightly longer, I left theater for a while, for about 15 years, and was a songwriter. Kind of took the spiritual path to kind of find myself. But what happened was, when I came back to doing theater, it's funny, my wife didn't know I did theater for about 3 years into our relationship. She didn't know. Wow. Until I took out my tap shoes. She knew me as a songwriter. I was her teacher for guitar. When I finally got back into it, I was now a writer. With a discography to a certain extent, not famous or anything, but enough to go like, oh, I really think I could probably integrate how I am as a songwriter with musical theater, because that's where it comes from for me. And then moving here to Eugene and finding my feet with kids again, and realizing that I still love it and will always love it. How much they touch me, and how I can see the excitement, and then I'm kind of with them. You know? I'm that theater kid with them, and to be able to create something with them, it's infectious. Yeah. The beauty of arts education is being able to discover alongside, right? Isn't that the most exciting moments? And I think the best teachers are the ones who learn as much from the students as the students learn from them, right? It's an exchange. And Betsy Woolston, who's an artist in town who I got to work with my first couple of years here at Lane Arts really closely, she really taught me that arts education is that exchange. It's the exchange from the student up to the teacher, and the teacher down to the student. And up and down even and of itself, that's wrong. She wouldn't probably use those terms. It's actually, it's an exchange. It's parallel. They're together on the same level. And I just love hearing that kind of from your energy too. So, so going into this idea of, you got here to Eugene and you've started Pegasus Playhouse, which was one of our newest organizations in the community for youth arts. I think amongst the newest. I don't want to claim time frame here, but how did that come to be once you got here to Eugene, and what are some of your goals of that organization? Well, I think that one of the things was creating opportunity. Would it be possible for me to create more opportunity, not just for the other kids, but for myself? Honestly, I don't want to stop doing this. So I wait and see if there's a gig that could possibly happen, which I got a few around town and fell in love with a lot of the kids, and connections with parents and working with them, and just seeing, okay, what's missing? Is there a possibility for something new and different? Is there a possibility for something slightly changed in this way? And so I put out the word. Would anybody be interested? And right away I got a lot of contact. Ended up with a 5-person board of dear friends, but also theater parents who love the process and everything like that. So it was basically falling forward. You put through the paperwork. Will this work? Okay, cool. And then, will a camp work? Okay, they signed up. Here we are. Can I write a show this summer that we do in the fall? Yes, that happens. So it's just continuous moving forward. And it's with everything that I grew up with, that I talked about before, about Plaza and things like that, in that I know what it is to produce a show from top to bottom. I know what it is to be handed a show and say, in a week, we have to get this is going to happen, so you're going to have to do it. And through theater magic, you do it. So, and trust me, I hope that the staff grows and things like that as we continue. But for now, it's been happening. It's been working. I mean, I feel like the 3 things that, and you've heard me say this before, our motto is empathy, excellence, and a little bit of insanity. An understanding of each other, and a pursuit of what is truly good about theater. Get better at something, and not just present something, but really get into, what does this mean to you as an artist, but also you as a group, you as a community, as part of the entire organization of theater. Because I know, I'm not saying I'm Lin-Manuel Miranda, but I know I know what he feels like on an opening night because I felt it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so have these kids. So we're part of that community too.
Yeah.
Community too. So getting them in touch with that. The goals for the organization, I think, are to grow. We want our own building.
Mm-hmm.
We want to have a Pegasus Playhouse where kids can come, and as much as I love the venues around here, there's a lot of wonderful venues, but they're not that easy to access.
Mm-hmm.
And that's reality, and that's totally fine. But I want there to be a place where the kids can come and like, this is our place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in addition to that, one of the goals for Pegasus is using some of the actors that are younger, but also employing artists for actual children's theater or children's theater that is doing The Diary of Anne Frank one weekend, and then it's Peter and the Wolf, or anything, original works that come.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly musical because I'm a musical theater geek.
Mm-hmm.
An actual children's theater that happens on the weekends, and then we have evening shows. So a functioning place that teaches dance and voice and all the things we want to bring, but we want to have our own place. I think that's a huge goal.
Yeah. I really love the way you were defining excellence in particular with this work that you're doing, that the excellence is about investing in and celebrating the richness of this art form, right? And the excellence is found therein our connection to the art form and our community within this art form. And it means trying to do the best work that we can, right? But also when you're working with youth artists who are developing in their craft, excellence has a different meaning than maybe what it looks like at the adult level. And there's something really exciting in there to still have excellence as a value for young artists, because young artists can pursue excellence. And when presented with the challenge of pursue excellence, pursue this community of excellence, this investment and energy into this art form and the love of it, they rise to the occasion. You know, students will rise to the occasion when they are given the chance to succeed. And it sounds like you're really setting up this space where students are invited to come to the table, to come to that level and do the work together to reach it. And so that's really awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Well, I know that your theater really kicked off right before the pandemic, and you've done multiple shows even during the pandemic when students weren't able to necessarily present in person. So I'd love to show a clip. We've got a couple clips here ready to go. I'm thinking maybe the Oz clip might be a good one.
Sure, that's what we're working on right now. Yeah.
Perfect. Do you want to give us a little kind of like intro to this video clip?
To Oz is a new version of Wizard of Oz. Well, it's new. It's been a couple of years that we've had it out there now, but it was something because you need something that's well known for people to hang on to start off with, because you want to establish a name and things like that. And To Oz is in the public domain. So could something else be mined from, there's two amazing musical versions, at least, of it already. The Wiz is one of my favorite things. Which is not something that we can do and hear. So the challenge was, could I write Dorothy's song? And I sat down and I wrote Dorothy's song. And I was like, okay, I think I could do this. So this is kind of our crazy little take on To Oz. And also it's something we've been filming as a movie musical throughout Lane County the past couple of months. So this is just where we are with the process, I guess.
Awesome, cool. I'll pull up the video clip. Let's watch.
Awesome.
Reds, yellows, and blues, and all of the rest, till it's just light and real life breaking through. Paint me a picture, not just black and white. Show me the colors. Show me the colors and hello.
I'm scared when it's light, but it's worse in the night. Maybe you could leave a light on.
there's nothing to worry about.
Don't be so sure there, Scare.
Alrighty then.
Yeah. Never thought we'd be free. Oh, but given up and now we're free.
Oh my goodness.
I love it. Well, it's so exciting. So this is one that is in the works right now that you will be bringing to a final production very soon. Tell me a little bit about when that is coming out.
It is September 11th at the Wildish. We're going to have a movie premiere there. One of the challenges about this is we can't lock down streets. So a lot of overdubbing process happens. And also organizing 32 families around Lane County, it's it can be a little bit tough, but the kids are amazing. They showed up and they're gung-ho. We kind of filmed all over the place. I mean, behind the cider works for Emerald City. And we went to, we call it Butt Park, but the park, Oakway Park, because that's like for that scene right there. And the kids would show up, like Noah Oristana, who's playing the lion, had to show up, with the prosthetic on and stuff like that in random spots around town. So we're in process, but I'm very excited about what we have. And one of the things I've had to learn a lot about is editing.
And you're doing a lot of like wonderful movie magic in there with like the floating bubble coming in and the broom appearing. It's really fun. It feels very organic and beautiful and like really lovely and homegrown in a nice way.
It has, like, I think we found that one of the things I think about us as a company is that if you see something's going a certain way, go that way. Let's go organic. Like we use a lot of repurposed clothes. We try to upcycle like a lot of the Munchkin clothing, like what you'll see eventually in the movie, it's kind of upcycled stuff. With scenery and everything. So it has a vibe that's a little bit tongue in cheek. And let's go.
Yeah, I love it. Well, there's a really great question that came in from the audience. Cameron Jackson asked, and I think this is really a really great question, especially this past year. He said, what is one encouragement that you can offer to artists who don't feel seen in their craft? And also relating to this most recent one, how do you lean into the joy of creation without an audience?
Cameron, what a great question. It's hard. I think that is hard. There's a James Taylor quote, and it's somebody I really, really admire what they've done, that you should write every day and try to bring it out if you can. People need to hear it, and you need for them to hear it. And I will tell you that I spent years playing gigs for one person or no people at all. I feel like it's something we're supposed to do. I hope that you can find a community of people to bring your whatever you do out to. I feel like the joy of creation, it is definitely a solitary thing, but take comfort in that. A solitary thing for now. I want people to hear you. I want people to hear everybody, but take comfort in how, like, your taste about things. If you feel like you've done something good, be with that for a while. For now, it took years and years. I was just telling Eric before we started. I was a roommate with a guy who's super famous now. I'm not super famous. It took me, 55 years to find my place in doing Pegasus Playhouse. I would say don't quit and bring it when you can. It's important. I think everybody has something to bring.
Yeah.
Super important.
Yeah, I really love how you're talking about this, Scott, because what I'm hearing in it too, and what I heard in that story about your friend is it also is a question about where do you find joy and where do you find fulfillment. And I mean, we can hear in your language and the way you're speaking that this is a space that you have found incredible joy and incredible fulfillment, and these opportunities for students to create something, that is wonderful and silly and energetic and that opportunity to come out in public with prosthetics on. I mean, as a kid, being also somebody from a theater world, I would have lived for that. Like, that would be memories that 20 years down the road, I'd be like, we made this movie of like To Oz, it was called. I was the cowardly, I had to wear a prosthetic out to everywhere across town, right? That's a fun story. You're giving these very magical experiences to these students too, that hopefully are finding, if not joy in the audience, they're finding joy in each other, it sounds like.
Oh
And
my
you can
God.
see it as they're marching through the park and the
Community.
dancing together. It's really lovely.
Oh my gosh. If I could say one more thing to Cameron
Yeah.
before we move on from that, the opportunity right now to catalog and put out art, because
Mm.
what we're doing right now, do it. Put something out there, make a YouTube thing, create. We have this opportunity now. So I would recommend you doing that, because you could revisit it, you could look at it, you can share it, but it's something where I didn't have it when I was younger. Where you can say, I'm doing this. One of the first things I ever did was get some neighborhood kids to do a show called Cool Frankenstein, and it is as bad as it sounds. But one of those neighborhood friends, when I say neighborhood friends, I mean, we're talking about like over 40 years ago, recently messaged me saying like, hey, if you need help with grant writing, I'm a grant writer now. And this amazing woman is like going to help me now in this process. So all of it matters.
Yeah.
All of it matters.
Yeah.
Do it.
The experiences transcend the moment in so many ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I want to lean back into the values that you shared and talk a little bit more about these, because I think these are just so much fun. And we talked a little bit about excellence earlier, but two of the other values that you carry with you with this organization is empathy and a little bit of insanity. So tell me a little bit more about maybe those two values and how you see them manifest in your work.
I think empathy is something that I learn from the kids more every moment, because I think I'm empathetic. I do. I feel like I'm like, I've got 3 kids. I'm the cool dad. I run the theater company, stuff like that. But they call me out on my stuff all the time, and in a good way. Like, growing up, we had He-Man, but they have Shira, who has a girlfriend. Big
and is like amazing. Is like totally badass.
Steven Universe and
Yeah.
representation and anti-racism. So as far as empathy goes, it's something I want them to understand from each other, but thank goodness they teach me.
I really love that. A great example of what we're talking about, of being, it's an exchange, right? How much we can learn from each other. This is another thing I'm going to keep talking about. Betsy, she's one of my greatest inspirations in town. She talks about, for especially older artists, older audience members, if you don't have a mentor who is below the age of 30, you're gonna lose your connection, right? You're gonna immediately kind of separate yourself from the rest of the world that's continuing to move forward. And this opportunity to stay connected to the young people and help them be an ambassador to you, of helping you grow and develop, that there's always this opportunity to learn, and young people are one of the greatest people who can help teach us that. That's another thing that I just really love that I learned from her, that once I get into the upper age levels, but right now I still stay connected with young people, but like she was talking about, especially for folks who are over 40, to be able to have those kind of mentors who are younger, that empathy that is being taught to us by young people. And, I'm a part of the queer community, and the language that has been coming out from young people has been like, thank you. You gave me that word that I never knew that I needed. Like, holy cow. I can't believe that there are people who are bringing forward this kind of fodder to give this gift to all of us, that we are all benefiting from the incredible brilliance of the young people in our community.
It's so amazing. And there's also something I'm going to talk to the excellence and empathy part, in that a lot of youth theater is Disney based. And I love Disney. As Story and my daughter and I were discussing today, they are a wonderful, horrible company. They're both. I love them. I do. I honestly do. I honestly do. And there's trouble, and that's okay to call it out. I believe, because my kids are definitely going to call it out, and I applaud them. But also, the excellence and empathy part is also knowing where a lot of this stuff comes from. What I mean by that is Lion King would not exist without Guys and Dolls, without Oklahoma. And in watching In the Heights recently, which was beautiful, amazing, wonderful, 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 but also Lin knows where he comes from. And I don't just mean his community, because I come from, my friends were all Puerto Rican and Dominican growing up. I was lucky to grow up in a very diverse area. But also he knows where he comes from as far as a theater person. He quotes Cole Porter, talks about Oklahoma, and he wrote a show. In the Heights is about everyday people, and it's not easy to remember this as a theater person in these modern times. But Oklahoma was one of those first shows too that was about everyday people, where people would go see it and see themselves in a musical. Now, it's not necessarily people of color or anything like that, but for the times. So getting the excellence and the empathy for that history as well, I think I want to get across to the kids.
Oh, I love that.
And what you do comes from somewhere, that we have a rich history, and it's a little messed up here and there, but also there is a rich history of musical theater in this country, especially in the African American community and the Jewish community, that has brought this almost subversive language and a way in for voice that still continues to this day. And when I see somebody like Lin-Manuel Miranda know that and see that and build upon it and make it a cultural thing that is his own and his culture's, it's amazing to me. But recognition of that. Recognition of those things. And touching upon the insanity, I think embracing the chaos with people and letting them find the crazy and be the crazy, and find that you and I both know your best work is when you're making faces in the mirror with yourself. I could have done that last night in the show. So if you can harness that and say that that is not only okay, please come with that. That's where we start, with that crazy person. That crazy person who wants to take a chance and walk the tightrope and become a lion or a crazy salesman or a wacky orphan who just, whatever. If you can bring that, we will give you the playground to play with that in. Little by little, how to make that into an art form that transcends you to an audience, and now you're communicating. And then we are pursuing excellence and empathy and the insanity all at once.
I love that. And also, for anybody who out there who has never directed a group of students in a theater space or done any form of theater class with kids, there's no way of getting around the insanity that is those spaces. And it's so energizing. It is tiring and energizing, I know, for me, whenever I'm in those spaces. And I really love that you ended on that piece about insanity, because I feel like there's another share that is a really good one to follow this, which is Too Many Princesses, which I feel like just is the perfect definition. Tell us a little bit about this clip that we're going to watch.
Too Many Princesses was the first original idea that I had a long time ago. And I had the little riff of the song, Too Many Princesses, for years before I actually sat down to write, and had the excuse, which was Pegasus Playhouse, the excuse to write this. Now I had the impetus. And I would get up and write every morning. That's my favorite time to write, is the morning when my judge isn't really awake, and get a little bit done each time. So it's about a land where every girl is born a princess, and they, one by one, they get tired of their lot, and they have to figure out how they're going to be this other thing. And because it's musical theater, we get to take what roles they had and solve a problem later on in the show. We also added the idea that the king is kind of stuck in them not changing. And the queen is like, well, dude, things will be different. Yes, it's true, things will be different, but so if you're lucky, will you? no one faces a change without a little fear.
Mhm.
And there are boys in the town who have to deal with the change. There's a side story that was inspired by my daughter and her best friend, who they're boy and girl, but they both people like, oh, you guys are da-da-da. You're romantic and stuff like that. And both of them are very queer friendly. And they were just like, give me a break. So there's a whole storyline about these two people who get teased about having a friendship. And there's a love song in the show about not losing that friendship because of it. It's not a love song, but it's a friendship love song.
Yep.
So I could talk about Too Many Princesses a lot, but that's some of the things that go on.
Well, great. Well, let's go ahead and watch the clips that you put together of this play, which was one of them that was in person. So you'll see that this one happened on a stage. So let's watch.
On the stage.
Once there was a land, beautiful and grand, a king in charge and all of it under his command.
We need all the pretty stuff and we need to be seen.
Oy vey,
Yes, too many princesses. Too many princesses. Over that hill, let's play it, let's lovely. Give me a chance, I know that I will be free. I wanna know. Buckle up and go.
We'll take the wall, walk the beat, protect, provide, pretend. And when it's time, won't take the knee. We're winners till the end. Boys, we'll
It
be
seems it's time began.
give
We
us the
stand behind the man.
that's what you get when you learn the alphabet. You take your favorites and just put them all in order. No one faces a change without a little fear.
I have friends. I didn't want it to end. Don't think I could ever replace. I miss their face.
I see patterns, I see puzzles, I see pictures, pretty and white. If I'm patient, put on paper pictures in my mind.
Wow.
I love it.
It's so cool
Well,
to see.
Yeah, well, something that I really love about even just the idea of that play from the very beginning is the whole concept of everyone who's born is a princess. And that in of itself is like a revolutionary thing, right? To be able to have that kind of permission for everyone who is born into this land is already at that level of respect, of dignity, of care, of importance. And it really does kind of like put a little bit of a nose up to Disney, where, you know, Cinderella is the only person who's allowed to be a princess in Cinderella, right?
It kind
And you kind of flip the script on that.
hmm hmm And in watching, I mean, I'm so proud of those kids I'm proud of them in general. I just love each one of them, but also that they took a chance.
Hmm.
this isn't Disney.
Mhm.
They took a chance with us to like, is anybody going to even show up to this? I'm singing a song that nobody knows. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's bravery.
Mhm.
They did it with relish.
Mm.
And one of the princesses, I didn't mention one of the last little princesses you hear. That's my middle kid, Pippa. And Story sang another song, but we had one princess that was the only time she said or did anything. She is a princess that was on the spectrum.
Mhm.
So she was able to figure out everything. All the problems got solved on a piece of paper she wrote and showed to the king. So that song is in her mind's eye. Like maybe you could hear my language. Can you understand? So that was really cool to do that as well, respectfully.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear in that kind of similar to what you were talking about earlier in your writing process and your creation process. It's really about honoring where the students are coming from. And I mean, Too Many Princesses, what a great setup for a kid's show, because if you need all these princesses, you have tons of the perfect age group for these students, right? And what a great concept to be able to immediately place so many opportunities for students to explore a character that is their age. And so smartly done in that way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
It was really fun to do. And the picking out the dresses and everything like that was really, really fun with everybody. Again, it was upcycle and things like that. And also, Too Many Princesses' idea came from, to be honest, the lack of young men to work with. Although I did have, as you can see, I had some amazing young actors, like trippy good guys to work with. Tavari.
It sounded a little bit like their song was a little bit about the expectations on masculinities. Was that kind of what that song was about?
Yeah. So there's a boys versus girls song in there about the expectations of both sexes. Because there's a major talk about that femininity versus masculinity and what's expected of each person, and using the princess concept as a way to hyper show that, but also to really talk about like what those expectations are. And there's a scene where there's a young man who cries and gets made fun of for that. And there's we got to touch upon quite a few things that were really, really lovely. So
yeah, cool. Yeah. Well, I love to hear that. Well, I want to talk a little bit about your role in a lot of this too, because in your work, it sounds that was a show that you wrote, and did you compose that one as well?
Yes.
And you directed it.
I directed it.
And you're the producer.
I'm the producer. I built
and you're the director of this organization. Are there any other hats that I'm missing? Designer?
I did the sets and the costumes, and like for now, like I said, all the stuff. I do have some support from a great board, but they're also busy parents as well. And I do have, from working for that organization, Plaza, that I worked with a long time ago, having to do everything prepared me to have to do everything. And as you know, as the leader of an arts organization, sometimes it is easier to just do it. It can be. I'm getting to a place where I am stepping back a little bit more and allowing breathing room for people to do certain things for us. I was able to hire some great artists this summer. But for the most part, I know to build something, you have to do the work. So the concept for the scenery and everything like that, being able to spin things around, that's something I've been playing with. Because we show up at a different venue, you have to have like portable scenery. You can't like create the whole space, but can you represent something in a small way that especially the actors can turn around and move while they're going? I enjoy that aspect of things very much. That technical thing where everybody is kind of moving things along. I love that.
Yeah, so with these many kind of hats that you wear and these many roles that you're helping fill with that, which I hear that of, like, especially when you're first kind of kicking off, it's like you got to figure out what you're doing before you can start to know what you can actually hand off to folks too. You know, that's a really important part of as you're starting to figure out the whole system.
Right.
You know, how do you keep a balance in your life with all of that, and especially the summer, because you got summer camps going on, which then is a whole nother level of coordination on top of show coordination. So tell me a little bit about like your process for keeping balance.
I think that first of all, I have a great family. That
Mhm.
helps a lot. But it took a long time to find my great family.
Mm.
My wife and I are best friends, and that's for real, meaning that we bicker. At times, we are absolutely gaga for each other in the best way. I lucked out in that aspect. My kids are fantastic. I have friends and support of the community that grows. Doing this with you right now is a major blessing.
Mhm.
Just doing this right now will fuel me for months because it's recognition and because it's connection and it's community.
Mhm.
Those little things, and to speak what Camera talked about before, it took years to find this kind of stuff in community. So I think that helps keep it in balance. I think getting up every day and working on something in the mornings are very huge. I'm writing 3 shows right now on top of everything.
Whoa.
I didn't say they were good.
But you're writing. That's the hardest step.
So I'm showing up for that. I think that that's it. I mean, having the people around you and also seeing the kids all the time. Like one of the reasons we haven't stopped working is like we have a Zoom class going on right now that's 2 hours a day. Being able to just goof around with them is infectious and it's inspiring. And it's like, oh, okay, we can do this. I think about things. And doing the 2 shows, we're doing Godspell and Free to Be this summer, which are not shows that I wrote, but shows that extremely affected my life
Mhm.
and constantly inspire me to what I create.
Mhm.
Those 2 things in particular are kind of borrowing from a time in the 70s when we were very progressive. People might not remember this. Something happened to stop us. Rhymes with Schmegan, I will say that. But reaching back and bringing that forward
Mhm.
is very important right now. Very important right now. And it's a lot about a representation and celebrating the joy of theater, but also the joy of people.
Mhm.
And the celebration of the individual is an important cog in everything. So that's how I get through it. That's how I keep it in balance.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, honing into those moments of joy and those moments of celebration and success and watching people come alive. Yeah, I know that I felt that and anyone in the education world knows that it comes in big waves of like high stress with huge payout and high stress with huge payout. And it's really exciting to hear that. And you also have a really big expansion kind of happening with your program this year that you were awarded some significant grant funding to be able to provide scholarships to all of your students participating in summer camp this year. Tell me a little bit about how that grant, where that grant program came from and how that's helping you grow and pursue your programming goals.
I have been pursuing grants for a few years, as we all do in the arts, looking for things. And you're a young company, so you have to have established time, which we're getting there.
Mhm.
But again, talk about community. Craig Willis at Oregon Contemporary Theater, who I have worked with over the past few years here. Some of the Pegals, we call the Pegasus players Pegals for short, or Pegalamas or Pegalalas. They got to be a part of the Thanksgiving play, which I was in at Oregon Contemporary Theater because we needed videos. And Craig asked me, and we got to have them be part of the show, which was amazing and a connection that helped create community.
Mhm.
And so fast forward a little while later, I was talking to Craig about a few things this summer, and he said, "Hey, did you hear about this?" and showed me the link to the K through 12 summer program. And I was like, thank you. So I put in there, because we have this whole huge summer program, I had so much to say, obviously, about what we do, and just put it all out there. We would love to be able to offer this tuition free and fund the whole summer. What do you think? And they said yes. So all tuition paid, all rental fees paid, sets, costumes, sound, everything is paid for the entire summer. That gives me such buoyancy, and all of the parents and the kids feel so supported.
Mhm.
it's everything. It's just amazing. And that, of course, will help us fund everything else afterwards because this is funded.
Yep.
We have taken, I feel like, a step up in the world as an organization where I just feel protected, and they do. The stress is not there at all, but also there is like an excitement that is wonderful.
Yeah.
So it was just being honest about what we do, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What we're talking about today, talking about that in the grant proposal. And I'm not somebody who's a grant writer. I've had to become an admin as well as the artistic director and chief cook and bottle washer. But I feel like through this process, there's a confidence that we all have now that feels great. Yeah.
I really love to hear that. And the funder that I believe is Oregon Community Foundation. Is that correct?
Oregon Community Foundation.
So they're super fantastic, fund so many groups across our county and across our state. Just such a great organization, and so happy that you are starting to get some of this recognition, and the first grant makes the next one so much easier. So congratulations to you and your team for the work that you've put in, because it takes a lot of work to get there, to be recognized in that way.
Thank you.
Well, I want to go, we have one more clip to be able to show, and this is a Christmas show that you put on this past year. So tell us a little bit about this piece, another one that you wrote, I believe.
We wrote this as our benefit show last year, and we did a reading of it. But this year we were like, we can't quit. We're not going to quit. How do we not quit? So again, I contacted Craig at Oregon Contemporary Theater, and we were deep in feeling afraid about so much with COVID-19 happening. It's like, okay, how can we do this? We're going to film 1 or 2 actors at a time at Oregon Contemporary Theater with 1 assistant, and we're going to try to put together this musical. And this is where I learned a lot about editing. So it's an all-youth cast. It is our take on A Christmas Carol, and it's Christmas ... Carol. And it's about a woman named Carol who constantly wants to see the manager. So we made her a Karen, but we couldn't call it Christmas Karen because that would be too much. But it's all youth cast. They were amazing. And that's what we did this past Christmas. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's check it out.
Carol, can't you hear us singing? It's a new day, Carol. Your alarm is ringing. Pop, pop, pop.
Here you go.
I don't think so. I need to see the manager. This drink isn't what I asked for. And Carol's not spelled with a K, stupid girl, so I need to see the manager.
Christmas isn't frivolous. Well, even a little. I've seen you, Carol. These are all of your doings. Seen what you have embraced and what you have neglected. I have pondered since the
Wait, why are you talking like that?
'tis a dead thing.
Treat people how you treat people is all that matters in the end. Most people, when you meet people, are only looking for a friend.
I can finally behold. Thank you. There's things to be done, things I've avoided, things too important to not.
So did Carol, it all became clear.
Oh my goodness. So silly. So
What-
silly.
It's so fun too, because I remember when that came out, it was a time when all of us were missing that energy that surrounds the holidays, and the in-person performances and the street performances and the bar performances and all these different things you get to go out and do, and youth performances being a really important part of the holiday season, whether that's a Christmas explicit play or just kind of this celebration of the holiday season and winter season. And we were all missing that. And then this beautiful work popped up that was silly and fun and tongue-in-cheek and just really, really fantastic. And I know that it was clear that the students were having so much fun. And to watch you find this way to work around all the restrictions that all of us in education were constantly struggling with. is really quite incredible. And I mean, the editing magic that you were able to learn, it sounds like so quickly, kind of blows my mind that you learned that much that fast.
It was just out of necessity, I think. And I almost lost the entire project 2 days before we opened. I've been editing for like a month and it just disappeared. So luckily I had 2 hours of absolute like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to just start all over. Because it really is, I mean, if you don't know how to do it, and luckily that's informing to Oz for sure, but if you don't know how to do it, it's hard. And I was like, I'm a Tigger. I know enough to get in trouble. I do. And I happened to, when I had gone off of doing theater, my wife and I met in Nashville, Tennessee, and I got a sound engineering degree there. And that kind of serves everything now too. So that definitely helped the editing process. But I think it's just not quitting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little, that insanity too is also not quitting.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's that persistence and the willingness to be like, I am done and still persevere because for the sake of the show, right? And like, there is some of that energy in theater, and that's just awesome. Well, I want to. Oh, go ahead.
That is serious, but it's not that serious either.
Always, yes, absolutely. It's still about the fun at the end of the day.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to just be able to make sure. I know we've talked a little bit about some of the shows that you have coming up this summer, but what other things do you have in the works for Pegasus?
Well, we have To Get the Building, and then we have a version of Snow White that is set in the jazz era 30s. Ooh. So it's Gold Diggers of 33 meets Snow White. We also have a version of Alice in Wonderland that's coming. We have a COVID musical called Bloom that involves kids and adults. It is about a woman who gets discovered online because she's been creating content anyway. Haley Henderson, playing the lead. She's creating content. She's a wackadoo, but she gets discovered during COVID and helps people. And it's a musical. Go figure.
Of course.
We also have a musical all about fairies. But not really nice fairies. It's a family that's been cursed. And this girl opens a book and unleashes the family curse. It's a musical too. So there are those things and more in process.
I love it. Well, it sounds like some inspiration from classics, inspirations that are fully from like very modern times and experiences. And to be able to kind of see all the different ways that students can intersect with that. That's so exciting to hear. Also, Alice in Wonderland is my favorite fairy tale world. So I am already excited for that musical. Awesome. Anything that is a play on Alice in Wonderland, I'm there for it. Well, Scott, I have one final question for you, which is the question I ask all of the guests in the Livestream Happy Hour. Where are you finding inspiration right now?
Oh my gosh, my heart. The kids.
Yeah.
Always. But also music. Always music. And anything from the songs from Steven Universe to remembering Joni Mitchell's Blue at the 50th anniversary, Patty Griffin. Also some wonderful things I'm seeing, like the show Wayne that's on Amazon Prime, Ted Lasso. I'm rereading books that I love by Neil Gaiman. Like there's a daily thing. The Wings of Fire series. That is a young person's book series that all the kids are into. I'm reading that right now. So I'm finding, and I will find song inspirations from a dragon book.
Awesome.
I will find picture from a TV show. Like, I think it all kind of comes together for me. So all over the place.
I love it. I love it. The best artists pull from all the different areas of their life and everything that they intersect with. Well, Scott, thank you so much. This has been such a joy to hear your incredible passion for the students that you're working with and the projects you're working on. It is a deep reminder to me, and I hope that everyone who is here listening, the essential importance of educators in our community, especially our arts educators with students, that they are invigorating and opening something up in our students that otherwise is not able to be fully accessed and enjoyed in so many other areas of life. So thank you for all of your energy and your work and heart.
Thank you so much for today. This has been wonderful. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Scott. For the rest of y'all, we will be back with the Livestream Happy Hour. We're going to take another week off, and then we'll be back in July with more artists that will be featured for you. And we're going to be looking forward to Visual Arts Week. So get ready to see some amazing visual artists from across our community who are doing some really amazing things to make sure that our spaces outside and inside are both alive and well with creativity. So we'll see you again in future weeks. And thank you again so much. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye now.